generally speaking, one of the things you have to remember is you've got a certain area that needs to be covered. So you have to kind of be aware of how much material you're going to need to do that. And so it's easier to mix. This is just, of course, going to be an absolute basic first step blocking in. And many, many moons of work will come after this, but you have to start somewhere, and I like to start fairly quickly. This is a little bit different than some other people do, because I view my enemy as being the blank canvas, just as I view a blank piece of paper, my enemy as a writer. So you got to get something on the canvas, even if it's wrong, it doesn't matter. One of the tremendous advantages of oil paint is that you can make corrections throughout the entire process. Very different, for example, than watercolor or in lithography. You put something on that paper, if you haven't thought it through first, you're doomed. You can't change it. But here, with oil paint, you can. And I actually credit, this is pretty odd, but this is true. I actually credit having read an essay about not Sargent, but Thomas Gainsborough, who was an English portrait painter. The essay concerned itself with why were Gainsborough's portraits, which were just formal portraits, much like hundreds of other artists, why did they have more life than just the ordinary hack paintings? And I read, he described his method, which was, he would have the model pose, and the canvas would be, let's just say, he's going to paint a life-size portrait of a person standing. His goal was to block that in no more than 2 hours, as quickly as he could. The value of that was that there's no stiffness to it. It had looseness, it had spontaneity. Now, when he was done, what he did was he dismissed the sitter. He would take his palette knife and scrape everything off that he'd just done. Well, because the canvas has a texture, he left a ghost image on the canvas of the position of the arm, the face, and all that. Then he would come back in, have the sitter come back, 2 to 3 days later, start to begin to add and refine details. So it's a system that I saw the value of it, and so I use it. Traditionalists would be horrified by what I'm doing here. But I'm quite happy with it. I notice that there's no attempt to, we're only doing one thing now. We're not developing color. We're not developing spatial depth. We're doing one thing, and that is we're identifying the position, the two-dimensional position of objects, this way and this way. And that's why this first procedure it's very simple. They say that that a painting is 2% inspiration and 98% hard work, and I can vouch for that. It's kind of exciting at this point because it's just starting. I don't know what I'm going to do, and it won't get exciting again until the last few days, about a year from now.
You to read that quote. That's a great quote. And I like the fact that you made it onto a Starbucks cup. That's just weird.
Well, it's so weird. Like they called, and the guy called Sally, and he said, "Can Russ give a quote to Starbucks?" And I said, "What? Starbucks? What the fuck is he talking about?" I mean, you know, and he said, "No, we're going to put it on a cup." And I said, "That's fucking crazy," you know. Anyway, and it had to be so many lines, and you know, and I actually gave them two, and they used this one. I can't remember. Sally's probably got the other one on a computer someplace. So it says, "My father said being an artist was the shortest road to the poorhouse, claiming real work is something you don't like. I ignored him through oppositional behavior, later reasoning that only an idiot sets out to find the poorhouse, not to mention devote himself to something he doesn't love. Instead, I discovered an interesting back road to the unknown, and deliberately without a safety net." This is a key thing because you know, it's very important that your heroes be strong, you know. And I see a lot of times if you want to call it that, in the artistic community, like in this little town, you know, people whose heroes are not strong. You know, they select somebody at random to be their hero who's not a powerful, strong person. And so they're kind of negatively impacting themselves by doing that, you know. And so, I mean, I was just, you know, born under a star. I mean, really. Although I'm far from world famous, by the way.
What can you tell us about the fishing poles, the collection? Fishing poles. Is there anything?
I'll tell you whatever you want.
Okay. That was all. Yeah, cool. All right.
Okay, well, that's that.
That was a great scene.
Lecture for today.